There was a huge press scrum outside of President Obama's bilateral meeting with the Chinese premier in Copenhagen today. While Chinese journalists managed to get in and film the event, Chinese officials decided they were not going to let the American press in. That's when White House Press Secretary Robert Gibbs came to the rescue.
No press, please. No anymore.
I never got in.
Hold on. I got to get my American guys in because everybody else got in.
We did not
guys get in. No, those guys didn't get in. Those guys didn't get in.
No.
We did not.
We did not get in.
No more. Okay. No.
My guys have to get in just like your guys have to get in. All right? My guys get in just like your guys got in. This is a joint meeting. My guys get in or we're leaving the meeting. These guys
there's already American press in already.
Huh?
Just now.
No, I did not get in.
This guy
did not get in. We're the only American.
This guy didn't get in. Come on.
Come on. Robert Gibbs ready to pull the president out of a vital climate change meeting because the American press pool cameraman was getting dissed and held back at the door. That little bit of impromptu badassery, in fact, allowed American cameras to get a few shots out of Copenhagen. I don't mean to be weird, but thanks, man. Apparently long odds after a frustrating week of possibility fading, the president pulled off some fairly acrobatic diplomatic maneuvers and emerged with an agreement, albeit a non-binding agreement, with China, India, Brazil, and other nations on climate change.
Today we've made meaningful and unprecedented, made a meaningful and unprecedented breakthrough here in Copenhagen. For the first time in history, all major economies have come together to accept their responsibility to take action to confront the threat of climate change.
Joining us now is NBC News Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent Andrea Mitchell. Andrea, thanks very much for coming on the show tonight. It's good to have you here.
Good to be with you.
I know that you have some pretty extraordinary reporting about what actually happened today in Copenhagen when President Obama tried to get a climate change deal. How did it all happen?
Well, it's the craziest thing I've ever read. It's a TikTok given by senior officials on Air Force One as it is now flying back to Washington. The president left before anything was signed, sealed, or delivered, citing the snowstorm. Aides said that they wanted to get him back to Washington, but you know what's happening on the Hill this weekend. It is the health care showdown, so you know what he needs to be doing. But that said, he tried to get a second meeting with China's Premier Wen, and it is really, as one aide described it, the 800-pound panda in the room is China when it comes to getting anything done on climate change. And Wen was not available, and then he went to a meeting, the president did, and there was an underling, a junior Chinese aide with all of these other heads of state, and the president said, you know, basically, I'm out of here. Let's get a meeting with Premier Wen. Well, when they called, and this does sound like an old, an old Laurel and Hardy routine, they were told that Wen was already leaving, that the Chinese officials were at the airport, that in fact the Indian Prime Minister was already at the airport, Prime Minister Singh, and that they finally could talk themselves into a meeting with Premier Wen at 7 o'clock their time in Copenhagen. The president gets there, and that was the fracas you saw because the pool was supposed to be going in, they thought, for a meeting between China and the United States. Instead, he found all these guys that were supposedly at the airport already, Brazil, South Africa, and India, in the room. They were caucusing against the United States. So there you go. He didn't get what he wanted, but they accused him of barging into a meeting, and he came out with something. Better than nothing, but clearly a very disappointed Barack Obama coming back because, Rachel, it's not binding. They didn't get the goals. There is no transparency. There's no commitment that they will do anything except announce what they have achieved. And if China announcing what they've achieved is good enough for the developing countries, the poorer countries, that would be very surprising indeed.
In terms of the sort of diplomatic acrobatics today, isn't it some sort of a big deal if India and Brazil and South Africa and I guess maybe China lied to the United States about where their negotiators were? They said they were gone when they were there and in fact talking behind our back?
Exactly. I mean, it's a real dissing of the United States. It's very disrespectful. It shows that this relationship with China is certainly not as cozy, as close. All of this reaching out and all of these bilateral meetings have not produced the kind of trust on an issue this big, an issue of such economic importance to these individual countries, but an issue of such global importance I mean, you can't overstate the importance to the world, but they blinked, they backed off, and Barack Obama at least forced them to confront the fact that they had to make some kind of agreement before they left, but it's a lot less than meets the eye.
Andrea Mitchell, NBC News Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, especially with this bizarre news that I wouldn't necessarily believe if you were not reporting it, but you make me believe it. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you.
And